Hello, everyone. This is a new show. This is Howie, and I'm inviting two friends, Ying from Radix Arc, founder CEO, and the founder CEO of Fish Audio. Both companies have a lot of momentum. They are competing in the very hot and then also very important area. One is the model serving. Then Rissa is actually in the text to speech, but I'm pretty sure she does a little bit broader than that. I'll let them to tell us the broadest story. Maybe we can start with Rissa.
Okay. Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm the founder and CEO of Fish Audio. So we're building our audio first real-time multimodal intelligence for AI native words. So simply understand, we're just an AI audio platform, and we've been one of the first in the category defining what they call the voice 2.0, meaning the ultra-expressive real-time controllable voice infrastructure that powers millions of creators, developers, and enterprises across AI companion, gaming, agents, and the creator platform. So this month, we just launched our S2 model, which is our latest text-to-speech model, and released the full model with fine-tuning code, inference engines, and a tech report. It got trended on X alongside the Perplexity, Gemini, many of the big labs, which was honestly a moment for our team, which I'm very proud of. And we wouldn't be able to do this without the Radix team, Ying's team, supporting us from day zero, from the SG Law Omni.
Okay, we'll get you more into your what the company is doing in a moment. You, can you actually introduce yourself?
Oh yeah, it's a very exciting moment to see Fish Audio S2 out, and get to know Rissa. We think this launch that we two teams work closely together. We are RadixArk. We're building RadixArk, which is a startup that we focus on building the AI infrastructure. The goal is we want to serve other AI companies to run your models and build your models smoothly, fast, and efficient. Definitely, Fish Audio is like one of a prominent example there. Before RadixArk, we were building Echelon open source inference engine, and then many of the core developers launched this startup RadixArk. We actually got to know Fish Audio team long before. I mean, I don't remember exactly, but it's maybe about 1 year ago already. And after 1 year, we got reconnected again and come up with this launch together. And this is so exciting moment.
Super cool. First of all, this is AI age, right? Everyone is using AI product. Even if you have been using a lot of the products from the last generation, pretty much every product is being rewritten for AI. As an example, my own team, we are developing an AI browser. I don't know if you have happened to have a chance to download a new browser. And Ying, have you downloaded a new?
I just downloaded.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, what is your first impression before we branch out to the more exciting topic?
Simple. I mean, like the style design. Initially, it's not look like a browser. I saw it's a app that can do a lot of things. That's my first impression. But actually easy to just paste in the URL and it's run smoothly.
Okay, yeah, that's actually the impression you got is actually most of our existing users are saying, right? They like the style, simple, it's doing more than just a typical browser. We actually have a lot more exciting things to announce next month on the new browser. But let's actually get into today's topic. So again, going back to Rissa, the audio, right? First of all, let me give you my high-level impression about what's going on. I'm not the expert in this area. Text-to-speech has always been a challenge, but it's always something that sort of work, but not quite. But in the last 12 months or so, my overall impression is that for OpenAI, Google, 11 Labs, you guys, there seem to be a lot of more progress in this space. But it's great. But is that a text-to-speech commoditized by now, or how to think about it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Over the past year, even this year right now, I think this is an era of voice. So as like time comes along, like from 2022 was the biggest breakthrough for LLM models. And then like I think for 23 to 25 was a year for diffusion models. There are lots of breakthroughs as well. Starting from last year, actually there are lots of tech breakthroughs in the voice model, audio model space. The text to speech as of today is not the traditional text to speech as it was 10 years ago for like those broadcasting corporate narration use case anymore. People not only care about like the accuracy, the word errors, like you are reading every single word by word, accurately with no pronunciation errors. But people actually want a voice that you feel natural, has expression, emotions that you're able to build a relationship with. And that's the missing part of this AGI era, where I think voice is putting together, making things like making human and AI relationship getting closer. And we are really convicted to do this to build the most natural interface for AI.
Okay, so you are saying that there have been multiple generations. What is the latest generation? Is that still diffusion?
It's a great question. There are still audio labs in the market. Even the biggest one you mentioned, you just mentioned, are using diffusion model. We are the one of the very first one using the dual AR model. So it's auto-regressive and with a combination of MOE structure. So that enables faster sampling, the state of art expressiveness, voice similarity. At the same time, my research team, co-founder, also achieved the realism, which is the voice similarity as a state of art, fine-grained emotion controls. So people care about not only what you see, but also how you see it. So the model today is actually just like you're directing a digital voice actor.
Let me ask a question to Ying. So Rissa's company is doing this audio model. How is your company like SG Land or your product even fitting? Like, why do they need your product?
Yeah, I think Rissa, like, they're building the fish audio model that's towards real users that they use. I think we should have a fish audio agent here to talk with us, to directly feel the voice. But what make it happen is that you need to have the framework behind that really launch it and make it running, as long as the engine that powered it up. And when you're asking about the question of the architecture side, I would say it's like those omni models. We say that omni model is like model you can take multimodality in and multimodality out, and fish audio is like in that category. You can take voice in, voice out, or text in, voice out, TTS. I mean, you have different formations. Architecture behind, you still have the transformer backbone. Like transformer is just the architecture, and auto-regressive is that you have the input output go through the transformers, multiple passes, and generate tokens. Well, what's in addition to it is for those omni models, you usually have more modules than that. Like you need to have modules that processing audios, modules processing videos. If you also have video as input output, like if you combine more into that. So multiple modules with the transformer backbone together, it becomes a more complicated system compared to the single text model. And the infra that we launched with Rissa support this as we have the additional orchestration layer to pipeline all these different modules and different stages to make it happen. But at the core, like, its core, it still has a transformer architecture behind.
So maybe this is a very kind of an obvious question to you, but just for our listeners who may not understand the engine framework. So there is an audio model, a research company and then team has, and then they run on some GPU-based machines. Why a new framework is needed for what? For performance optimization, for orchestration? Like what's the reason for piece of software between the model and the,
GPU?
yeah.
Yeah, because GPU is just the hardware that provides you the units that you can done computation. The model is like you have the architecture, you need to done a couple of complicated operators, and then you need to have a way to. I mean, I try to explain this simple.
Maybe I'll ask a question differently. What's the alternative? If I don't have your piece, what's my alternative?
Well, then you need to have use other framework. You whatever need a framework behind. It can be another framework or build a framework by yourself. I guess like Fish Audio, like they also build the infra, and then now we converge back. But it's like you need to have somewhere some framework, some infra behind the between the GPU and the model to express how you orchestrate the GPU operators, how you run those compute components and the I/O. All the operators basically. And if you ask about the difference of, like, say, we already have Astron, the core Astron LM, the text model before, then what's additional thing here is we need to process the additional modules that process the audio input output. I mean, audio modules combined with the LM backbone together, and also the orchestration of how you manage the workflows go through those pipeline, and then pipeline the stages. That's the additional part.
Basically, SG Omni gives us the ability to be able to run each stage with its own scheduling. So S2 has three distinct stages like text processing, dual AR generation. But with SG Omni, this makes us be able to run each stage with its own scheduling. They don't block each other. And that's different between like you're just doing a demo. So basically they enable those like developers in the open source be able to run each stage with its own scheduling.
Okay, so I think we discussed a lot of the technical side. Let's actually zoom out a little bit, just on the product side. Rissa, for Fish Audio, who's your audience? Is that consumers or is that the enterprise? Or maybe there's a journey you have gone through?
Yeah, we started from open source as open source project. There's no revenue. It's really just our hobby project to begin with. That's actually built by my co-founder Rissa Cao, who's the model trainer, also our chief scientist. And then about a year ago, because the open source community were demanding us to build this AI content creation platform, and that's time 11 Labs was the only other player in place. So we started building this AI voice content creation platform called Fish Audio. And the initial users are essentially coming from open source. They are game developers or ASMR artists. And later, we actually reach a plateau of all of these users because we kind of exhausted this initial early adopters. Then we started doing influencer marketing. We grew from that's where we grew from 3 million to 6 million in terms of ARR. We unlocked the audio podcast group of users. And then later in June timeframe, we are able to run a reinforcement learning based on our live usage data from the creator side. And we also started B2B sales, which is essentially selling APIs to many of these AI startups, as well as like AI. There are two types of B2B customer, I would say, from the API side. One is like an AI native entertainment platform. They're either AI companion, social platforms, or they're either being like gaming VTubing companies. And third one is the AI content creation platform like Hage and OpenArt type of platforms. And then later this year, as we work with Ying, we did a lot of inference optimization. We're able to achieve a lot lower in terms of latency. So we actually be able to serve many of the real-time voice agent use cases. And we actually have a very exciting model launching next month. That's the S2 Flash model. That's be able to achieve within 200 milliseconds in terms of latency. That's
Yeah,
how we
so
evolved.
I'm going to ask the same question to both of you, but just since you're already talking about the journey you have gone through, when both of you started a company, there is already some established player or established open source project, or maybe not as good as yours, but there are already plenty of established players, right? In the case of Rissa, is a pretty decent player. Matty is a good friend of mine. From his point of view, they're already the dominant player in in this space for a couple of years. What gives you sort of what's your thought process? Like you feel like, hey, there is still plenty of unmet needs, or how do you think about getting to this space? Clearly, you are doing something right because otherwise you wouldn't grow this fast. So can you share with our audience what you have gone through?
I think very simple. By the time we started, 11 Labs has already been around for about 2.5 years, and they probably already be a dominant player already, and they are still the dominant player as of today. But I think this is an exciting space. And for our team, we really want to bridge a gap between human and AI. And I don't think 11 Labs have been able to achieve that yet. Maybe one day they will be, but I think we're not the first mover, but we're excited to be the second mover. And I don't want Maddie to be too lonely on this journey. There aren't really many of the audio players yet compared with like LLM, or if it's like the video space. Audio is a very exciting space. And I think many companies are actually working on audio before, but they reach a plateau. They aren't be dedicating on this. Like many companies already being acquired, or they aren't focusing on audio anymore. This is like the most exciting problem for us to solve. And I have the team very dedicated solving this problem. I love hearing all the feedback from community, from our enterprise users, and they're pushing us moving forward. I would say I have amazing research team. And we're very passionate about solving this problem. And we're willing to iterate very fast based on our user feedback, based on our enterprise user needs, so that we kept moving forward, keep iterating. We don't necessarily need to be the first mover, but we're moving the fastest. And that's what we want to be. I don't know, given time, like when would be the time, like, oh, Fish Audio would grow to the stage of 11 Labs. Even 11 Labs today, they're expanding the business to multiple different directions, to more downstream applications rather than the model layer. But I think it's exciting for us to be super focused on solving this problem as of today and iterating very fast and being able to hear all the user feedback from the community, how they like S2 model. That's really, really rewarding for myself and my team.
Yeah, so I get it, right? The number one reason is you don't want 11 labs to feel too lonely. That's number one reason. But the number two reason, you are going to iterate fast. But what is the number one thing from your point of view? You are different. You feel like you have the right to play.
Yeah. So honestly, I think as of today, from like the trade-off between naturalness, expressiveness, as well as stability, that's something the problem has not been solved yet, even for 11 labs. And this year would be a very, very exciting year. I think I want to be the first one solving this problem, and we will see whose model performs better. So that's really the model
Interesting. You are
side.
basically saying that the efficacy and also expressiveness, efficacy and expressiveness are the two interesting angles, and then you wanted to strike uh, the best balance between the two so that you have the best product from the end user point of view. That's what you're saying here.
Yeah, I think that's a missing part to solve audio for the AI puzzle, the AGI puzzle. So stability and expressiveness as well as emotion control. This is an unsolved problem yet. And many of us are moving towards getting close. The S2 model, I think we're probably already hitting 80%, but I want to get that 100% ahead of 11 labs.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you about what sort of the technology behind that, your unique technology behind that to solve that problem. But let me also get to Ying first. Ying, when you started a company last year, it's a somewhat crowded space, right? It's not like people do not have the inference engine platform. What gives you the right to play? Clearly, you have a tremendous momentum already. You and I talked, in the last few months, right? So many amazing PhDs are willing to work for you. So they come to your team despite, all the OpenAI and Anthropic, but they still like to work for you. Something is right. So what is the unique right you have?
Yeah, I very first want to echo what Rissa said. I really like her argument say he doesn't want 11 left to be lonely. I think we hold the same opinion. This is market is crowded and there are so many players. But like when we came out, there are existing players, but there are also problems that haven't been solved. I think people, when they need to choose an engine to run, they have a choice on the market, but that's the only choice for them but that doesn't mean that one is the best one. And when S-Sheng came out, we do have achieved much higher performance, and so that's why we got some early adopters. This gives us a different opportunity that we actually can be very focused on some important workload, and we have a small team that we move fast and be focused on really focused on optimizing performance, and have a engine that's smaller but more focused and well organized, and people like that. So gradually, we started to get more and more users and more developers on it. The community is built with momentum. Momentum actually pushed us to launch this company because we need more efforts to be dedicatedly into building it to satisfy those user requests. And that's how it happened. I think we also built a unique culture that different with other community in the same space. What the culture in Sheng as people have a strong bond with each other, and we have people allowing Radix Arc to keep building it, and not because they want to work. I mean, definitely not work for me. I mean, they feel passionate about it because they feel they're working for themselves. They feel they have a chance to change the world, push the frontier, and do something very exciting. That's it, and that's also what we gain from the open culture. Because of the open source network, open source connect us with the world, connect every one of us from different places of the world. And we all feel that we're building something exciting together so that we feel we are as like one family, one group. And that culture pushed us to keep working hard on pushing the technology. And I think because of the existence of us, we also helped our counterpart move faster. So
Uh,
we actually made each other better. And this competition makes the whole field moving much faster than before.
Right, right. I think in Rissa's case, they make sure their competitors are not too lonely. But in your case, you make your competitor better in some ways, right? But it's actually quite intriguing because, we all live in Silicon Valley, right? The Silicon Valley last a few years, last 2 or 3 years, I would say is very different from the pre-ChatGPT days. My own observation is there's a lot more energy, people moving very fast before ChatGPT, I don't know how many high tech companies employees would go to office, work during the weekend. Now we are kind of doing this show on the Saturday afternoon, but you are still in the office. I'm in the office. My CEO is actually sitting, just across me. It's actually amazing that you started seeing that, a lot more energy. And then part of what you said is your engineers are attracted to the office because of the culture, because of the working as a family. Can you double click on it? You, of course, came out of the XAI. Maybe it doesn't mean a lot to you, but for me, it's like, okay, people working harder, right? Working more hours. Is that just they love it or there's a little bit more than that?
At least from my experience in XI, actually, I love XI a lot. The culture there, at least the time when I was still there, XI is a very good place that people just like to work hard. It's actually not, I mean, there definitely some push, but I think the biggest part is people are volunteer to work and they volunteer to create something, to learn new things.
Yeah, one of my own team members said, when you love it, right, work is not work.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And on Thursday evening, I actually called my engineers. Hey, I said, let's actually have a call, to discuss a topic. And then 4 of the 5 people were in the office, except me. I was at home. I feel like, wow, this energy level on the Zoom call is so different. But anyway, I'm actually curious. Rissa, what do you see? You have also 20, 30 people in your company. And you worked at other companies before, right? So can you share with us your observation of the company's culture, what's going on as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, this is my second startup. I worked at another startup before this one, and I think it's like different, very different in terms of culturally. I think the last time I joined someone else as a co-founder, but this time actually being able to actually founding the company along with Shijia is quite different. I think this is a more interesting, exciting problems to solve. And number one is the team. If you have a shared vision, so everyone on my team most of them, except for myself, are Gen Zs. So they are really passionate in the AGI world, not just necessary to see like the audio TTS problem itself, but actually entirely how we're immersing ourselves with the AI to with the virtual world, how we actually like making humans be able to like truly connected with AIs. I think that's an interesting problem. Like all of my team very passionate about solving. And secondly, I think the culture here is everyone is very self motivated. They're not working for me or my co-founders, they're actually working for themselves. So that actually makes a difference. And I know like a few of our engineers, even when they're sleeping, they're running different jobs. They're sleeping like 3-4 hours a day, and they're still very like passionate of being self-driven because they really enjoy being working on problems like this. And lastly, I think we're in a really exciting time. There are opportunities we can catch where the top players, the first movers probably haven't solved yet. And it's just very exciting moving towards that direction. We're either winning or we are learning.
Okay, so I'm going to share with my new team. They are not the only group of people on the planet thinking that way. That's great. So let's actually switch the topic a little bit. Both of your companies have open source project as a key component of your business, as a key component of your technology. Can you just describe to our audience what is the open source part and what's the strategy, what's the thinking?
Okay, I can go first. I think for us, we started from as an open source project to begin with. Given we are a research lab, we want to keep the lights on. We still want to operate as a company. Open source for us, very frankly, is a distribution channel rather than a monetization leak. we do want to serve as much community members as we could, because they are the one making fish audio to become how it is today. We have 6 million plus creators and developers as well enterprise. By them using the model, actually giving us more data. We were doing like real time, actually, sorry, we're doing live preference alignment for post training based on real usage data. And that's why like our creator platform actually enhance the models on the enterprise side as well. So we are able to iterate on our model much faster. And for those who are giving us feedback using our model initially, this initial user come from open source. So Fish Audio, the S2 model, be able to achieve how it's performing today is not just because of our model trainers are great, it's because all of the users giving us feedback, telling us what is the type of audio they prefer, sounds more like a human.
So with your open weight, as a researcher, as an individual, I can run your best model on my machine. But if I want to commercialize it, I need to come to you for some licensing agreement. Is that what you're saying here?
And not
Okay.
everyone are able to our model in the same way. Like even by open source develop, they're able to do it, but the result might be not be the same as our APIs. But this takes lots of work. Like our engineers, our infra team work on lots of things to make the model to perform the best.
And then that's a segue to Ying, because my understanding is you don't just run it, right? You actually leverage some inference engine platform orchestration to run it. It's not for the faint of heart. This is actually a pretty sophisticated thing, right, Ying? And can you tell us your open source strategy, or what's the state?
Yeah, I would say, so first, as we came from open source and then think about commercialization, it's more like we want this open source project to be successful. And the original philosophy just we want it to be shared. We want people to all work together to push the frontier. And and the one core value there is we want everyone has the chance to express their idea, to visualize their idea of implementing great techniques. We want everyone can join the game of building something great, and we want the project to be long lasting. But the dilemma is, if we want the project to be long lasting, it cannot be a freestyle development. We need a strong power push it behind, and so we actually have been forced to launch the company to run it behind, and so still we can provide this platform for people to contribute. Then we need to think about how to keep it alive. How can we have the company be the long-lasting part to help with the openness value? We want to hold the values. We want to make it alive with some mechanism. That we believe in the value that if we are creating, people are using it, right? There are a lot of people using it, means that it has value. It provides value to others, including fish audio, I hope. So if it's creating values for the world, then we believe there's a way that our value our efforts will get something back. And then one problem we noticed that even we share the source code, we have the source code fully open, and it will continue to be fully open. But people still met many difficulties, questions, issues to launch it in the best configuration. It's still a complicated thing when you want to do something like when you want to launch a end-to-end and full stack serving on a production serving. So then the company layer is more about we want to solve the full question of having the environment for people to host the services. It also provides internal tools for people to construct their whole services. So we can do everything. And we have the engine open source, so people trust it, so people have an idea, people understand it, so they have an idea of what they want to add onto it for their customized workload.
You open source everything, even the latest and the greatest software. But even if you open source it, that doesn't mean an average Joe can just run it easily. It's still, there's a lot of sophistication, right? That's number one thing I heard. The second thing, at least in the case of Rissa, individuals, researchers can run it. But if I want to make money out of the model, I still have to get license from you. In your case, if I wanted to, am I getting the best infrastructure code from you? And also, if I run it by myself, do I need to pay you, or what is?
You don't need to pay, or you can launch it by yourself.
So you're even more open in some ways, right?
Yeah, because like with infra layer open, then it should be fully open.
And because you have the confidence that some of the customers using SGLAN as example, they would still need help, even if you give them 100% for free.
One thing is they will still need help, and that's already happening. They still will be like willing to pay us to have to get our support on it. And another thing is, I think our business model will not will not just rely on open source. We will build something else, a lot of things around it. This will be the corner, this will be the window for us to see the world, for us to connect with the world. But we will build a lot of things around it. And because we get connected with people through this window, through the open source SGN, people would be happy to keep using our other products. And then they pay for the additional other services. That will be eventually how we run the whole ecosystem. So we still get revenues from there, but the core part, the intellectual part, is open source.
To your company is very much like a Spark to Databricks or Kafka to Confluent, which is like the core part initially, but as a company, gradually they do way beyond just Spark and then the Kafka. Is that how I should understand it?
Yeah, there's some similarities there. I mean, the core engine will always be open source, but definitely the scope we will achieve is much more than just an inference engine.
Got it. Okay, this is a very good. I have a couple of more questions to you because it's AI native era, right? Even when you started a company, when you started open source projects, the AI coding was at a very different level. You probably both would agree with me that in the last few months, maybe half a year, maybe 3 months, depending on what kind of the programming, what kind of software you have, advanced tremendously. What are your software engineers are doing? Are they still writing code? Or are they doing code review only? Like, can you share with me insights from your own company?
Yeah, I can go first. For us, our engineers are not only doing engineering work, they're doing design work. So it's like all of those amazing AI design tools that like Cloud Code. So if you look at our website, majority of the pages are actually done by engineers. Recently, we started working with, we hired a designer to join our team, but previously everything was literally like wipe code by our engineering team. But they also have a really good sense in terms of design. I think it's very important like to find the people who have a good taste of how to use AI, how to write code. And even like our engineering team, they sometimes do some go-to-market works as well. They are able to integrate the product very well and make it part of the marketing workflow to push it for like promotion campaigns, ads campaigns, as well as influencer marketing, SEO. They scrape all of the information off the internet. I think that's really effective, especially they are the builder of the product.
Actually, one thing just let me make sure that's the point you're making. Your engineers are doing more than just traditional software engineers were doing. They were doing the designer work. They are also doing some marketing work, right? They are the builder. So they are doing things much broader than just the software engineers are doing. That's the point that you're making.
Not every single one, but there are a few engineers on our team are actually doing much more than just the engineering work itself.
Okay, Ying.
Yeah, we observe exactly the same thing as what Rissa described. AI is powerful, and our engineers, they can produce more code than before. They use a lot of AI, and we encourage them to use a lot of AI. But you still need to have an expert level. I mean, the top engineers sit behind the AI to tell the AI how to write the best code, and they need to review the code. That's still needed.
Said so. Jensen Huang said last week that for a software engineer who earns $500,000 should spend $250,000 in tokens. Otherwise, he or she is not a good software engineer. That's his claim. And we all know there is some bias in him, right? He's going to sell more cards. But forget about that aspect. What do you think about that statement?
I think it's not exaggerating, honestly. Well, we need time to be there, though, because people need to get familiar of how to make that happen, how to be productive. But I think it's not exaggerating.
I mean, where do you see this AI is going? Do you see that AI, there's a report that there is a different thesis. AI is going strong, going to be 10x better, but there will be less jobs, or even for people who believe how to think about this sort of the transition into the AI era.
Yeah, I can go first. So I think for my prediction will be a lot less opportunities for new grads because people who are, unless like they are actually starting with AI very early, have really good sense. Because for now, like more experienced people are able to use AI a lot better. The reason being, we have the knowledge base in terms of how things would operate, and you give the right prompt to AI. So AI is actually enhancing your brain to make you function better. But for relatively, if someone doesn't have as much of experience, and if they aren't able to learn very quickly, and if they're not able to develop that sense to be able to do quality check with AI, to enhance AI's thinking, to reduce its hallucination, then just like Ying shared earlier, it's gonna be garbage in, garbage out. So I think with AI getting here, market, I think more and more people would hire more people who have more seniority, that's more fluent with using AI. That's gonna be produce a maximal value for many of the startup company or big corporate. Otherwise, it's more experienced people who have experience domain knowledge in specific area, and they are able to work with AI very well. So those people just can be like super producing in those area without hiring any of the interns or like they used to be.
Basically, you are saying that in order to get the best value out of the AI, you still need the domain knowledge. You need to know how to drive and command the AI. It's not just for someone who doesn't know a lot and then come in and then be super productive. That's sort of your thesis.
Only people who are knowledgeable enough can tune AI to be a top performer. If you never be a manager before, it's very hard for you to train someone like from day one. It's also like you and AI is like that relationship as well.
I have a slightly different view, but I'll leave that, after Ying gives us her point of view. Hey, Ying, what do you think about this topic?
Yeah, I technically agree, and I understand what Rissa said about that. It's true technically, but I will also say let's still be optimistic of being creative for the people to find a way to work differently. It definitely things will change. I mean, if people still stay in old style of how to be productive, then that challenge will emerge. But we can think about the problem differently as we need to be creative about what people can do. Maybe we don't need to spend that much time on always like coding and productivity work, but more in this creativity side of how can we create things for human. I focus more on the human culture itself, humanity. I think it's a good thing to release humans' power, humans' brain to think about higher level questions, problems.
But wait a second, Ying, to my knowledge, you actually hired new college grad, or you hired a lot of new college
Yeah, we
grad.
have many.
So how to reconcile? You said I agree with Rissa. How can I reconcile the two things?
I think the two things coexist because we hire new grad, but like they are the top new graduates. Top new graduate students, they are smart, they learn these things faster. But I also observed the challenge that new grad are harder to find jobs. I mean, the broader new grad group.
You came from Stanford. Your co-founder came out of Berkeley. So you feel like the top graduates, they would be fine.
They
However,
will be fine, yeah.
you feel like for many others, they might be I wouldn't say in trouble, but they have more challenges than the graduates from a few years back. That's kind of what the two of you are saying here, right?
Oh, yeah. So for us, everyone on the team are Gen Z. So from like maybe like from their, I wouldn't say experience, but from the age perspective, they seem to be new grad. But for experience perspective, they are not new grad. They are in the open source since like 7, 8 years ago when they are in junior schools. So they aren't technical the same new grad as we know from like based on the social norms. What we're saying is I think people are more experienced, good at doing things, can actually command AI better, can train AI better. For people who are relatively inexperienced, be directly pick up the job unless they learn themselves very quickly. Otherwise, it's hard for them to command AI to collaborate with them very well.
Yeah. Clearly there are people who sort of new college grad, but they can already think deep, right? That's sort of the one way to think about it. But you also have people like me, even though I'm a little bit old, I try to think I'm Gen Z in heart. No, I'm just kidding. So there
You
are
are,
both
we think
ways.
so too.
So on the more serious side, this is a very important, right? What is your advice to people? Like, let's separate the two. What is your advice to people who already have a lot of domain knowledge, but now it's the AI era? Like what can they do? What can they think?
I think I still treat this as an opportunity. I think people can be more focused on thinking about what's their real need instead of thinking about labor. I mean, thinking more about what's a deeper desire. and everyone still have the power, has the potential that AI cannot do. So you need to follow. I mean, it's a time for people to follow their heart because productivity issue will be solved better than before. So it's time to unlock their deep desire, create things that AI hadn't been able to learn or hadn't been able to sense or vibe with people, with
So
humans.
basically, you're saying that, hey, for people who already have a lot of experiences, they may have anxiety because of AI. Your message to them is, look, treat AI as a tool to unlock your potential that
Yes,
you could have done as much chance in the last, whether 30 years or however many years, but now there's an opportunity. That's a very
yeah,
interesting way
yeah,
to think.
yeah. Think less
With
about survival, but think more about how to create.
Okay,
Yeah, I think similar as what Ying said, but my point of view is doesn't matter how your age. So recently, I encountered a few of my prior colleagues at Meta. They were very senior, like they were directors, VPs already. They recently left, and they're starting to do something new in a new discovery. And they weren't coders before. As long as you're really passionate about something and you share all the context, you have something that's your dream you want to ship, and I can work with you, and you can pick up AI much faster. I think like someone's desire to learn something is more important than whether or not you have the existing experiences. If you truly have the desire, you are learning from the right direction, and you can have AI collaborating with you, learning in the right direction as well.
I
cool.
fully agree.
Okay, my last question. Maybe, Ying, you came from Stanford. For people still at Stanford or wanted to apply for Stanford, right? Rissa, you came from Columbia. For people still at Columbia, but or wanted to apply for Columbia. What is your advice to them? Because it's a totally different world in the future. What's your advice to them?
I think for kids, I think it's just go with your gut. Because at early stage, you don't really know what's right or wrong, but you probably have a feeling. If you're interested in art, then you can be a like art director. If you want to become a founder, you probably start building like open source or any of indie project yourself. I just think follow what interests you the most. And because AI already exists, AI can support you, work you to function as your team and see some early wins. Like I said earlier, I think even for founders, once we pick a direction, we just have to go all in. Like 11 Labs is their Gemini, all the OpenAI big ones are there. Even for in like there are other space. But if this is something that really interests you, and we just like start learning gradually, as long as you consistent learning and you are like training your AI, you can move faster than the first mover. As long as we believe in ourselves, I think as long as you truly believe in yourself, you have infinite energy to win the market.
Well, my son would have loved your advice. He's a teenager. He probably would have told me, hey, Dad, go away. Let me just trust my guts. So it's music to his ear. Anything you can share with us in terms of this topic?
Yeah, I think it's in the same way. I would still encourage young people to more follow your heart and try to not be on track. Try to not follow the rules because rules will be ineffective because of AI.
Rules are going to be ineffective because of AI. Can you double click on that?
Yeah, I mean, because so AI will be very good at doing routine things. So will have less value on labor efforts, but will have more value on spiritual part. So I would encourage new generation, young people to focus more on your spiritual part rather than the labor part and try to define the rules by yourself because in the future you will need to define rules for AI and let AI work for you.
Wow.
So I focus more on personality and leadership. I mean, independent thinking, critical thinking,
So
and
we're all
knowledge.
I think you do have an extremely good point. If you just want to follow the rules, let AI do that. Why you need a human to do it, right? Humans should have something unique. So by the way, this is probably advice for not just the kids, for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.